Welcome to Holistic Human Performance Podcast. My name is Gena Bradshaw, where we talk all things holistic health, wellness, spirituality, fitness, meditation, energetics, and so much more to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. Let's dive in. This is not medical advice. This is simply to help you on your journey through health, fitness, and wellness. I hope this helps. You can complement this with anything that you are doing currently in your life. Enjoy. What the holistic human performance community has turned into is something beyond words. I am so grateful for each and every single one of you. And I wanted to talk about what the community is all about. And really, it just started with me going through a really low time in life, where I did not have my health as a 2-time cancer survivor. And I really leaned into holistic health, that lifestyle, changing everything about it. Really taking a deep dive into energy medicine and spirituality and combining all of these different aspects of mind, body, and soul together that helped me heal on a deep level. And now I am following out my soul's mission and purpose and bringing this to you all. And so I want to invite you inside of the holistic human performance community. We have an app, which is the HHP app on Apple and Google Play, which you can also get all of these goodies on the desktop as well. And really what you're going to find inside of this community, I call it the Virtual Wellness Center. It's going to be all about holistic health, spirituality, energetics, all different practices, tools, modalities. So we have things like sound bath meditations, we have breath work, we have tapping series, we have workouts, we have somatic healing, we have masterclass series, we have programs. I have other professionals come on inside of the app to teach. So there's so many cool things you get inside of this community. And so I wanted to give this to you all as a membership. And what you're getting is a monthly membership where you have 300 plus on-demand videos, plus live stream classes and programs and courses. You're literally getting all of these incredible tools to take with you wherever, whenever you need. And so for $33 per month, you get access to this. Or you can do annual, which is $320 for the year. You're getting all of this inside of the Holistic Human Performance Virtual Wellness Center. And not only that, you could try it out for 1 week free and cancel whenever you want. So these are things that are going to help reprogram your subconscious mind, you regulate your nervous system, keep you healthy and navigating life with full life force energy, and really helping you to express yourself authentically while also enhancing your health and your well-being so that you can find and follow your soul's mission and purpose. So I invite you inside of this community. It is so beautiful and juicy. And not to mention, we have a whole section inside of the app where it is a community forum so we can chat with each other and talk about our wins, what we're going through, and so much more. And I don't know if I mentioned, if you are a one-on-one coaching client, you get full access to the entire Virtual Wellness Center membership. So I invite you inside of the HHP community. Again, you can get your week free trial on Apple or Google Play or right on your desktop at holistichumanperformance.co. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Holistic Human Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Gena Bradshaw Vitale, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Rebecca Paris. She's the founder of raisingthevibe.org. It's a platform focusing on self-actualization tools, holistic healing, and ascension and embodiment techniques. She is a spiritual and gene key guide consulting on relationships from codependency to self-sovereignty, from martyrdom to self-love, as well as a guidance with life purpose and spiritual science wisdom. She's also author of the ebook Matrix Resurrections Unraveled. Without further ado, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So, I'm very excited to chat about. I was telling you, I recently stumbled upon gene keys and kind of like what they are. And I've always been a fan of human design. And I know that the two are like kind of correlated. So I'm really eager to get into that. But first things first. I want to know about how you even got into this work. There's always a story behind it. You don't have to get into the whole shebang, but like what was like that pivotal moment that you kind of woke up, you had that spiritual awakening, you're like, wait, what am I doing here? Like this is not the life I want to live.
Right. And we all have those moments, and some can come fast and can be more gradual. But yeah, I grew up not being religious or spiritual. That just wasn't in my repertoire. So I just wasn't aware of any of that. And then I guess, did the whole corporate thing, advertising, VP of marketing for United Way, was just doing that whole masculine, route that we're supposed to do, and good education, get married, have kids. I left and left work and had my children, and ended up becoming a portrait artist. So that kind of shifted me. And so I was able to start being in my feminine more, like the receiving and the flow. And it just brought on this whole other aspect. So that was kind of a start of it. And then the other issues were my children are, very sensitive souls and just really did not fit into the matrix. Again, I wrote about the matrix that we live in, and just having everybody cookie cutter and not really recognizing the gifts that they do bring. And so that was just kind of like a shock to the system, who for someone who was just doing the program, like you're supposed to do and doing well in it, living this country club life, president of many organizations. I'd go into an organization, president of like the Children's Healthcare Fund, and garden club and tennis. And so I did all that, and you get to the top and you're like, wait a minute, oh, there's something missing. And so I've kind of been feeling that. But the real like awakening happened on a walk. I was out walking with my dog. My daughter was in college. I was talking on the phone to her, and she was telling me about a situation that I could not fathom. Like the cognitive dissonance just was like, what? It couldn't have happened in the reality that I know. And there was some spiritual aspect about these two friends of hers that was kind of a negative situation, but it just opened me up to, there's no explanation in this world that I can come up with that would answer this, like what happened. And then I talked to a friend of mine and just kind of opened up to this whole other world of, oh, there's things going on that we don't see, but are still there regardless. And my higher self kind of just took that opportunity to just say, it just kept saying, you have a purpose, you have a purpose. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen. But I asked myself two questions. One, how does energy between all people and things interrelate? And what do all religions and spirituality have in common throughout time and culture? So I had a book club, so I was a big reader. And so I just did a huge deep dive into those topics, and really was interested in the interrelationship between spirituality and science. And so it started with the Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, read Power versus Force, and just started understanding what consciousness was. And then from there, I just was insatiable about, like, I've got to understand this world that's been here all along that I just didn't recognize.
It's like you wake up and you're like, wait, why didn't I learn this stuff earlier? What is going on here?
Right.
Okay, so I wanted to find some terms, and everybody has a different way of explaining this, but the Matrix. Can you,
Mhm.
for the listeners that may be like, Matrix, what? What are you talking about? What does that mean?
Well, I think the movies and our sci-fi do a pretty good job of explaining what's actually happening, and I've been intrigued by the Matrix movies. But To me, we're almost like in a video game here. Everything's numerology, and there's the world of forces that we're playing in, right? So to me, I think I have an unusual take is there's this, I believe there's an organic matrix of reality that was like what we intended to come in and do. And that organic matrix was about expansion and creation and knowing our connectedness to the divine and to all that is and being able to create our individuality in an organic system. And then I believe what's gotten put on top of that is what I call the false matrix, which is almost in reversal. And it's the beings who really want to take advantage of some of the light and more parasitic. And so we're kind of walking in a blended reality as I see it, that a lot of the ego is what navigates the false matrix. And the ego is the not self. It's the personality self that we think is us, but it's really the programs that were put upon us in childhood from 1 to 7 or ancestral stuff that we carry on or past lives. Any of that is just like who we think we are. It's really the identities that we identify with. I'm a vegan or an accountant, and it's just like he's like that's who I am. But when reality, we're just so much more. We're this divine essence, like a snowflake that just got covered up with all these ego programs, and now we're here to like, wait a minute, I got to start taking off those post-it notes that I put on myself, and I'm so much more than what I thought I was. So the matrix can be either organic or more of the artificial, and a lot in the artificial one, it's just really not supportive of human life. It's just really supported for the pyramidal, like the hierarchy and the controllers. So, and it's our job to really step out and say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to serve the system. I want to live my authentic self and bring my soul purpose and gifts to the world.
Absolutely. And I find that fear can really take hold, a grip on people where they're like, they wake up and they're like, but wait, like how am I supposed to kind of like quote unquote go against this system? But I think that this is where these tools come in to number one, you obviously need to build confidence, build up that voice, not be, scared of judgment and things of that nature. But what was that first step that you took to kind of, I guess, come out of the Matrix?
Right. Well, I did hear about human design right away. And the first step, I think, was getting a human design reading.
Mm,
And then the woman I worked, did a reading with someone in Hawaii, and she's like, well, I've actually never had a type like you, which is an ego authority manifester. So they're like less
interesting.
than 1% of the population or something, but it's just like you really got to be knowing, how do you use your power? And
Mm,
it's either for good. And it's like, wow, okay, that's kind of the lesson here. And it's just, everybody kind of wants to be a manifester because they don't really have to take, listen to anybody else. You're here to inform, as you know, with the human designs. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of got me thinking, well, and I kept hearing, I've got a purpose. And then that showed up. I'm like, and that was just really affirming to know, oh, so my energy is different than somebody else. And I'm here with my own strengths and I'm here to initiate. So I learned that about human design. And then I had an Akashic record reading, which really helped me understand my soul gifts. I used Susan Taylor Shire, who I've just recently reconnected with, but she's written a book called Soul Mastery.
mm.
Realized I was a blueprinter and a blueprint translator and a blueprint deliverer. I don't know if you've heard any of these terms.
I have not, but I'm so intrigued.
Yeah. So the blueprinters come here to help deliver the blueprint, which is your authentic, God-given divinity. And we're not just a body that's just evolved from mates. We have actually 12 or more DNA strands that are not there, that are dormant. The junk DNA is not junk DNA. It's just they're just not coded. So we're here to recode the junk DNA or the intron DNA to come back and to realize who we truly are. It's just kind of been
Mm,
unplugged. So as a blueprint deliverer, I'm here to help people find their soul gifts and bring all these tools out in the public. So that's why I think Raising the Vibe came. I did that quite early in my awakening. It's like, I've just got to get this information out there. All the tools that I use, like the Akashic Record, Human Design, Gene Keys, And then the blueprint translator is like an Eckhart Tolle who wrote The Power of Now. So he's a blueprint translator, and I'm feeling like I'm now being called to step in and understand what the matrix, how the matrix runs and the universal laws, and how to bring that into real world techniques for people to help live their best life and to get out of that limiting belief system.
So important. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I was also reading something, one of my friends, she does human design readings, and she was telling me about how um most people are manifestor generators and manifestors. And you're starting to see this new kind of rise of like projectors,
Mhm.
reflectors, which is pretty cool. And for those of you
Absolutely.
who don't know about that, I have a whole podcast episode on that, so you can take a listen. But I find it fascinating that, you know, I that people we come across these, we have these spiritual awakenings, we're like, oh, like this is so basic, like all of this information, and yet it's not like taught in school and things of that nature. And I personally, I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up learning about this. Like I didn't learn about astrology, I didn't learn about human design. I grew up in a Catholic family, which like spiritual in nature, but not what we're kind of discussing.
Right.
So I always find it so important to just, and that's part of why I'm personally a projector, but that's
Okay.
part of why,
Perfect.
yeah, so that's part of why I do what I do. It's like, let's educate, let's connect the dots, and let's bring this forward so you can make your own decisions of what's going to work best for you, while also kind of igniting that soul light within you and waking you up so that you can share your soul gifts with the world. I think that's like the
Mhm.
most important part. Um, so now I'm curious. Let's talk about the gene keys. I want to know. Tell me about the gene keys.
Mhm.
And I know that there is a connection to human design, but it is something different than human design.
Absolutely. Well, I got introduced to the Gene Keys very early on, again, probably like a year after this one awakening experience. And just a friend of mine who they were doing specialized kinesiology, and they heard about the Gene Keys, and I just was just enthralled with it from the beginning because it's a beautiful mix between the right and left brain.
Mm,
It's really got that science part that I really like to gravitate to, but it's really beautiful meditations, and it's using both sides of the brain and integrating. So it was brought in by Richard Rudd, who was a human design student. He studied with Ra Uru Hu, the founder of human design. For 7 years, he wrote books about human design. So he's a mystic. He was in it, and he had his own like 3 days of downloads. And so Gene Keys really stands on the shoulders of human design. So it's based on the archetypes, the 64 archetypes, the I Ching, and then astrology. And then Richard, I think, brought in more the DNA, how the physical aspects add to it. So he then created like the graph, like the tree of life, and put like your purpose, your life's work, your evolution, and your radiance, which is in human design, the incarnation cross. So those are your genius, and he put those on the outside, and then he put words to like which of the 64 archetypes are you? What are your genius? So you have your life's work is what at the top of your chart, and that's and your chart is done by your birthplace, birth time, just like human design. So it's your imprint. So you get imprinted when you arrive into this world with, your filters on the reality, really what it is. So your life's work is what you're here to do in the world. It's that masculine energy, and it's like where you're striving to do. It's your brand. And then you have paired with it, which is the opposite on the I Ching, something you're always trying to balancing them out. They're programming partners. So you have your evolution, which is your biggest challenge. And it's where I think the earth is at the time of your birth. And then the life's work is the sun. And it's just working on balancing those two out. And then you move to the feminine side, your internal, the radiance and your purpose play with one another. And then once you kind of work on the outer biggest challenge and you break through into your radiance, which is what keeps you healthy. What are the things you need to do to keep healthy? And your purpose is really the essence of who you are. It's like the snowflake that is there to be uncovered when you take all the post-it notes off. And it's like who you truly are and your essence and what drives you in this world. And then you have in the middle, like the Venus sequence, which is the red sphere, it's like how you get to your purpose. And that's really through relationships, suffering. It's that water path of really dig, all the things that you went through in your life or that you're still going through relationship, they're mirrored who you are so they can create the dharma and the karma to get to your life's work. So I just found it
Mm.
fascinating. The key thing with the gene keys is you have words for each frequency. So for example, my life's work is the shadow frequency. It's number, they have a number. So it's the number 2, which is the most feminine key. And it should be like Richard, he said 2, it shouldn't be 2, it should be like 1 or 0. It should come before everything because the feminine should really become before everything. But anyway, in the I Ching, they put it as the second. So the shadow frequency, when you're lower frequencies, is dislocation. Then you have orientation and then unity. So that's my life's work, is to balance the most masculine key, number 1, which is the highest level is beauty, and it goes from like entropy, which is chaos, right? To beauty, to freshness, to beauty. So I'm balancing actually the most prime feminine and the most prime masculine,
Hmm.
trying to get to the feminine key, given to as my life's work. So that's just an example of how your gene key, and it just really helps you, feel so much better about like some of the challenges you've been through in life, because they just were imprinted at birth, and they're not just yours. They're you're carrying on some of the ancestral work that you're clearing for the whole line. So it's multifaceted, but ultimately you can see your genius. And even though your shadows are there, you can see, well, I've really gone through that. But my genius is I can be about unity and beauty, and then my radiance is empathy, and my purpose is guidance to virtue. So you can hang on those beautiful words and then start to become that. When you know that that's in you, then you can work through some of the life's difficulties to get there.
I always find this is it's so fascinating to me because it always comes back to your when your soul came into this life. Like it all comes
Mm.
back to that, and I find it so fascinating because I call it like your security cheat code, like your security code. Like that is literally, it tells you everything you need to know about yourself. And I
Right.
know when I started to learn about this, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." It was almost like validating in a way where it's like you knew these things kind of, but you couldn't explain it, you didn't understand it. And then somebody else is, doing a reading or you're looking this up on your own. You're like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. I guess I need to lean into this a little bit more." And you almost find when you like kind of fight you're fighting yourself, right? So those things that you're like leaning into or supposed to be leaning into, you're almost fighting and resisting, but it's actually like, no, we need to close that gap, and that's the area that you need to go. Kind of like what you did with corporate. It makes sense. You such a masculine energy, and then you
Mm-hmm.
came over to this more creative side and you're like
Mm-hmm.
painting and drawing and being creative, and that's like what you just said, the whole opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Isn't it? I mean, like, oh wow. And then you just see your life, how it played out. And you're like, oh, no wonder I went from this executive to the artist, right? And now I'm a guide and into Gene Keys and mixing both. And then Gene Keys are really, the magic of it is contemplation. So instead of meditation, which is the just the feminine receptive, or yoga, the active, he blends the two with it's just contemplation. And the way it works is when you're in one of those moments that are the struggle, or you find yourself yelling or something, and you're like, whoa, you stop and you take a pause, and you're like, then the idea with contemplation is you inquire to yourself, wow, I wonder what that was about. And then with gentleness and patience, you just really take full responsibility for all of your emotions, reactions, and then just sit with it and just really kind of unwind some of those patterns by taking that pause. So it makes sense to me, like the Joe Dispenza is like what the neurons that fire together wire together. So when you don't take the pause, you're going to be an automatic pilot, wiring, 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 and then all of a sudden you're able to consciously step in and take the pause and go, huh, wonder why I just did that. And then it stops them from wiring. And so that a conscious observer, the compassionate witness can come in and it's like, oh wow, let's maybe look at this and try to get to the bottom of why I'm so reactive here.
Science and spirituality are literally two sides of the same coin. Like you
Exactly.
can't have
Everything is
you
the same.
everything. You can't have one without the other. I love it so much. So I guess my next question would be, let's just say someone understands they get their gene codes, right? Like
Mhm.
what do they do with the information, right? Because there's a lot involved. Like I was reading and I was like, "Oh man, like this is a lot."
It is.
It was great information. And again, I have to go back and read mine. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like what would someone do with this information next?
Yeah, so the way I work with someone is they're just brand new to the Gene Keys. I think it is helpful to have a guide who can just kind of walk you through it. And I'll just take it piece by piece. So the first session we'll do the activation sequence, which is just your incarnation cross, your four gifts, your genius, your life's work, your challenge, your radiance, and your purpose. And we just do a deep dive into those. And it's really a transmission that comes across because it's a consciousness in itself. The Gene Keys is a consciousness, it's a group consciousness, and then really just have the client just like really feel into when they've experienced either like the shadow either has a reactive side or a repressive side. So when you have like the trauma of, let's say, entropy, which is mine, it's like chaos, you're either going to take it inside and just feel all that, or you're going to project it out onto somebody else and live a chaotic life like on the external, or you can live a chaotic life on the internal. So you
Right.
have both. So we just would work through these, and it's just really coming up with those times in life where these epiphanies happen. It's like, oh, I see. I react in the shadow frequency. I did that, but in me, in my DNA, is this beautiful beauty. Instead of entropy, I can be beauty. I have beauty in there. And here I am as an art. I came into it as an artist. That's exemplifying beauty into the external from chaos. So it's just working through that. And then I asked, then it's just really sitting with that, and it's really that, I can't do the work. It's really about the contemplation that happens afterwards. And then I usually take a month to say, now if you want to dive into your Venus sequence, which is about your relationships, we can look into what your attraction field is, for example. And like mine goes from control to valor. So I was attracting all sorts of control. Either I was controlling others or they were controlling me. So that was the big thing that that attracted into my field so I could live ultimately my purpose and my life's work, because control was the thing that I needed to wrestle with. So we go into that and we look at relationships and how they best thrive. And then at like a month later or more, then you might want to dive into your prosperity, which is the pearl sequence. And that's like when you've kind of done some of the work and gone through the shadows, and you really like, well, how do I best thrive in the outer world and to have a successful business? Some people are born to be more entrepreneurial, and you can see that in your keys. Some people are born to be more of just the production. The line ones are like, I bring in creation to the world, but I don't need to do anything else with it after that. But my job is just bringing creation to the world. Some people are here to market it. Some people are here to teach it. Some people are here to organize it. And it's just based on the line you have in each of those categories. So it goes deep.
I actually remember in mine specifically was entrepreneur. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, yay, I'm on the path.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Perfect.
Wow, very cool. There's so much that goes into this. I definitely implore anybody who is on, this journey of awakening, you're just kind of trying to figure out, or just in general, like obviously you want to learn. This is all about learning about yourself and the gifts that you bring into this world. And I talk about this all the time. When you lean into your gifts, when you honor what you're really meant to do here in this lifetime, your health and your well-being enhances. It just comes along with it, and it is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. I know personally I've experienced, I'm sure you've experienced. You just feel so much lighter, so much better. Not to say that the healing journey and doing the inner work is easy, right? It's not
No.
easy. But it is so, so worth it in the end. I mean, I can't even say enough good things about it. So, as we wrap up, Rebecca, are there any words of wisdom that you would like to leave the listeners?
Yeah, it's again, know that life isn't happen to you, but you're happening to life. That when you become a victim, you just take all, if you start complaining and thinking that life is happening to you, you just give away all of your power. So the key is to know that you are a co-creator and you can influence your life. And it's really the daily intentions, just really structuring your life where you're doing you and not giving away all your energy to other people or caring about what they think, but you just are here to bring in your gifts. So just be bold, listen to your intuition. You've got this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Rebecca, where can people find you?
Yes. The easiest way is RebeccaParis.com. And I do guidance sessions. You can sign up for a Gene Keys session by just filling out the form information, sending it to me. I also have a course on there if somebody really wants to do that. It's Awakening to the Real You. And we go into some of the deeper science of like the miraculous human body, how the DNA really works, the 15 chakras versus the 7 ascension tools. There's quite a few. I did this with a friend of mine, and there's these really life transforming meditations there too. So if you're called to do that, that's also on RebeccaParis.com. And then just I kept up raisingthevibe.org. I had a group in Atlanta when I was still living there, but just kind of wanted this website to just be out there to have all these tools. So it's raisingthevibe.org. There's a huge list of books to help you on your journey. And I've read all of them that I have there, and they're listed by like Awakening Through Trauma or The Science and Spirituality or Channeled Text or whatever. And there's just a whole list to just, it's a plethora of resources, including human design, gene keys, Akashic records, and it gives a listing of all the holistic healing modalities that I've encountered. So hopefully that will help people get on their journey.
Absolutely, I'm sure it will. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your
Thank
wisdom and knowledge. And I will leave all of Rebecca's information in the show notes. So, guys, if you like this episode, like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to leave a review, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
you.